Hi, I'm Casey Sowell from East Texas. I'm 39 years old and I am now a rebuilt man.
Gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome today to a very special episode of The Rebuilt Man. I'm your host, Coach Frank Rich, and we are back today with I Am Rebuilt. This is our interview testimonial transformation series, episode 16. And we have a gentleman today that is at the end of his 12 weeks here inside the Reboot Your Life program. This man has been a true blessing and honor to work with. He's gone through a transformation in his heart, in his body, in his soul, in his life, but most importantly, in his relationships. So excited to welcome here and have Casey share his story and journey of overcoming pornography addiction and becoming a rebuilt man. Casey, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, Frank. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Casey, if you could take us back, man, I think your journey to freedom started a couple weeks before you initially reached out to me. So take us back to where you were, man, the struggle, how it had impacted your life, and why you feel things weren't working up until that point.
Yeah, I've been having this problem for 20 plus years. I know you start your program out with kind of the similar story of having the same struggle, trying to quit, not being able to. And like we had discussed earlier, went through one failed marriage because of it. And I was on the brink of my second failed marriage. And I knew that I didn't want to lose another wife or even destroy my family because of this addiction that had overcome my life at that point. And we had a separation, and I was at my house on my lunch break one day and went into the closet. And I remember in one of the church services about going into the closet and praying. I had looked up the chapter in chapter 6 in Matthew, verse 6 was it said, "Go into the closet and pray openly or in secret to the Father, and He will reward you openly." After that, and it seemed like when I stepped out of that closet, I just had a big relief come off my chest, and I knew from that point on that it was going to be all right. That I would be able to overcome this addiction.
Yeah, that's powerful. I was talking to a group of men last night and telling them that it's been my experience, and 6 years removed for me, so 6 years of my own freedom, had a very defining moment back in 2019. Many of the guys that we have worked with over the years experienced that, where there is this shift in time where things feel differently. It starts there, but then we still have to put in a lot of the work. And I think maybe that's what you had realized is, hey, I know this is out of my life for good, but there's still going to be some work that I'm going to have to put in. Can you kind of maybe talk to us about what that process was in terms of struggling with your own doubts and insecurities and maybe reaching out for help? And then what it felt like when you initially kind of contacted me and said, hey, man, I'm ready to kind of jump all in on this thing.
After that moment, Frank, I kind of started researching podcasts kind of related to porn addiction. And I ran across your podcast, and I remember going on a trip, about a 4 or 5 hour trip. I probably listened to 15 or 20 or so of your podcast, and just listening to the way you have handled it with other people, and seemed like the success that you had with yourself and others made me want to reach out. And I started doing a little research to it, and I believe that's whenever you had just started the school community around that time too. I believe it was pretty fresh, and I joined the school community, and I think that's whenever I first contacted you was through that community.
I remember that very, very vividly. Yeah, that initial conversation. I think for you, one thing that you have shared with me was something you had to overcome, and I know a lot of guys struggle with this, is that fear of judgment, or maybe the perception of weakness if we reach out and ask for help. Can you maybe walk us through how you were able to overcome some of those doubts and maybe kind of deny the ego a little bit to actually reach out and ask for help?
Yeah, of course. Like we've had this conversation a few times. Like you said, it was being a man. You really don't want to ask for help. I'm be 40 next month, and wouldn't say I have a whole lot, but what I do have, I've got every bit of it on my own. It hadn't been handed over to me, and just being a strong, independent man, you really, like you said, it makes you feel weak inside to reach out for help for something like that. You think you can just do it with your own mentality, or just motivation inside yourself to do it. But I realized after going through this program that it has been a whole lot easier going through this program than just trying to do it on your own. Just to have but the word I'm looking for is willpower. Yeah, you can't just do it on willpower alone.
Yeah, a lot of times that's the biggest strength that we can find within is when we're willing to say, "Hey, I don't have all these answers figured out, and I'm willing to follow somebody that has a blueprint that is successful." One thing that I think is really powerful with your story, Casey, is that moment in the closet, right? Like the true surrendering to God, and the faith that followed. That had to come with a lot of faith there after in belief. Can you talk to us about how this journey, these last couple of months, your faith has grown and what that kind of looks like for you now?
Yes, I would say I've always been a believer and been a Christian, but we all fall short of God each and every day. But I feel like I'm a whole lot stronger in my following Him now after this. Um, I don't miss a day of reading my daily devotionals. I don't miss a morning that I don't have gratitude for the day and for what He has done. The daily five has helped that. Writing down the things you're grateful for each day, and I just find myself digging more into His Word and getting more wisdom from it every day.
You've been really open and vulnerable with us here from the beginning, mentioning that this issue and addiction probably played a massive role in costing you the first marriage, and the second one was maybe on the rocks there, right? It was a little. There's some uncertainty in some things. I know over the months you've had a lot of conversations about the restoration within that relationship. Can you talk to us about what this experience, this journey has done for you and your wife and bringing you guys closer together?
Yeah, you really don't realize the hurt that it puts on your spouse or your girlfriend or whoever you're close to whenever you're going through this, because it is probably one of the most selfish things that you can do. But she had shared several times before I finally decided to give it up, how much it had hurt and stuff. Then after I made my mind up that I was done with this and started doing my research on the the hurt and the pain and stuff that it causes, it makes you a little more open to those conversations of how they truly feel about that. And our conversations are a lot better now. Where we can communicate a whole lot better without near as much anger. Before, whenever you have that selfish mentality, you really don't want to hear anybody else's feelings. It's helped in that aspect a lot.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. We were talking before the record just about what the future is going to look like for the two of you, big plans and goals, and getting back to talking about your dreams together, which I think is one of the greatest things that comes out of this is that recreation of that intimacy with the people that are most important in our lives, man. What have been a couple things maybe you've learned about yourself or areas that you've grown personally?
Yeah, I recently, within the last 3 or 4 years, got a leadership role at the company I work for, and it's helped me grow in that aspect just over the last 12 weeks going through this program. Just kind of building your confidence whenever you're there to lead others. Before you felt kind of like a phony or a hypocrite that you're trying to guide these guys to do the right thing when behind closed doors you can't do the right thing for yourself. I've built my confidence up and being able to communicate with them and share different things with them.
That's amazing, man. What do you have to say to the guy that's out there that is, hearing watching this, maybe he's not being truly honest about the impact that it's having on his life? Like, if you could impart something to the men out there in the world about how porn, getting it out of your life, has positively impacted your life, what would you say?
Man, I would start by telling them to look in the mirror at themselves and ask themselves, are they proud of who they are and what they're doing? It would probably be the biggest thing. And don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's tons of people like yourself that is willing to put in the work to help you overcome this. If you think it's not accomplishable, it is for sure. You know, I've struggled for over 20 years with it. And within the last 13 or 14 weeks, the desire for it's absolutely gone.
It's a changed heart. That's a changed perspective. That's a changed world. Gentlemen, Casey is a changed man, or what we call here a rebuilt man. If you're on the fence or you've been struggling for any length of time, and Casey's story here resonated with you, and you're interested in what recovery or journey to freedom may look like for you, underneath this video or down there in the show notes, there's a link to an application page. The same application page that Casey had to go through just 12 weeks ago. This is the initial process of getting into our world, beginning to have this conversation to even see if working together is aligned. We may or may not be the right organization, and I understand that, but I can point you in the right direction. So if you're interested in what this can look like and open to having a conversation about a pathway to freedom for yourself, click the link, fill the application out, book a call. But Casey, man, it's been a real honor, brother. I'm super excited and really looking forward to the future and continuing to foster this relationship, man. So I appreciate you from the beginning for taking the leap here, for taking a risk with me, but more importantly, for sharing your story with the men out there today, brother. So Casey, man, I appreciate you, brother. Any last and parting words for the men out there?
Guys, don't hesitate. This can be accomplished. I promise you. Make the investment, take the time to do it, put in the work. You know, one of the things that was said to me whenever I was going through this and praying about it really hard is God told me that if you do nothing, you're going to get nothing. So you got to put in the work to do it.
Amen, brother. Guys, link down there is below, rebuildrecovery.com/apply. But for Coach Frank, Casey Sowell, we love you guys, and we will see you next week.